and the world is not prepared. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back, because today I'm going to give you guys my review for one of my most anticipated movies of the year that is directed by my favorite director of all time, and I had the chance to go see it in theaters a couple of nights ago. Oppenheimer. It is directed by Christopher Nolan, and it stars Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, Jack Quaid, Benny Safdie, Rami Malek, and many more. Let me know down below in the comments what's your opinion on Oppenheimer. I'd love to know that. And with that said, let's get started. The movie follows physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, who gets appointed by Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr. to work on a top-secret Manhattan project, as Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spend years developing the atomic bomb, and as their work comes to fruition during the events of World War II, they witness the world's first nuclear explosion as it gets made and forever changes the course of history. Christopher Nolan is my favorite working director of all time right now. He has an amazing filmography, and 3 of his movies are on my top 10 favorite movies of all time: The Dark Knight, Inception, and Interstellar. He has made a variety of different movies in different areas of genres, whether it's superhero movies, crime, drama, thriller, and even sci-fi, which he's done quite a few of in his career. And I was excited for Oppenheimer ever since it was first announced, because I love movies based off of historical figures when they're done right and when they're done very well. And with a director like Nolan, anything that his name's attached to, I am really excited for. And I love the cast, having Cillian Murphy finally be the leading man in a Nolan movie, with a massive supporting cast with Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., and Florence Pugh, etc. And I love the trailers and the marketing surrounding the movie, as we follow a movie about Oppenheimer's life around the time of the creation of the atomic bomb, and so as the controversy afterwards. So for a while, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I was so excited to see it when I do. So now that I saw Oppenheimer recently, I absolutely loved it. It is another triumphant and riveting movie by Christopher Nolan that shows why he's the best at the game. Kicking things off with the positives, the performances in this movie are outstanding from the entire cast and crew, big or small. Cillian Murphy is perfect casting as J. Robert Oppenheimer, from the mannerisms to how he feels personality-wise, and even his dynamics with characters like Kitty Oppenheimer, Leslie Groves Jr. He is a force to be reckoned with. And this is by far the best performance I have ever seen from Cillian Murphy. He is absolutely incredible and at the top of his game with this movie. And I'm so happy Nolan even cast him as Oppenheimer, considering he's been in other Nolan movies as a smaller supporting cast member. And I'm so happy he finally got the chance to be the leading protagonist and the leading man in a Nolan movie, because he absolutely knocked it out of the park. And this is one of my favorite leading protagonist performances within a Nolan movie to date. And the supporting cast member performances are incredible as well, with the highly talked about one being Robert Downey Jr. as Lewis Strauss. And this is an incredible performance from Robert Downey Jr. And as much as I will always love him as Iron Man, and that as being one of my favorite castings of all time, not just for comic book movies, but in general, this is a talked about performance that deserves all of the praise and so much more. Robert Downey Jr. has a really good chance of winning the Best Supporting Actor nom, and even a win for this movie. He truly disappeared into this role. Never once did I watch it thinking this is a character who's very reminiscent of Tony Stark. He truly disappeared into this role, and it solidifies that Robert Downey Jr. is an incredible character actor. And then Florence Pugh as Jean Tatlock is fantastic in the scene she's in, and she's one of my favorite rising actresses right now. And to see her in a Nolan movie is also great, especially shaping up the fact that she's going to be in Dune Part 2, should that still come out this year because of the writer's strike. And Emily Blunt as Kitty Oppenheimer is also fantastic, has some really memorable scenes in the last half of this movie. Matt Damon is definitely the character that brings the most levity to the stressful situation they're in of building the bomb. And Matt Damon still brings in some of the more humorous moments in Oppenheimer while never feeling out of place within the story from a tone perspective. And it's just really nice to see Matt Damon in a Nolan movie. Everybody else in this movie, from Jack Quaid, Benny Safdie, Alden Ehrenreich, Josh Hartnett, and even as far back as Gary Oldman, who does show up in this movie in a capacity I won't say as who. Everybody is just incredible in this movie, big or small. Oppenheimer is a movie where it feels like every single actor and character had something to contribute to the movie, and that if they weren't in this movie to the degree that they were in, it feels like the movie would have fallen apart if all these actors and characters were not on screen and utilized the way that they were. It feels like everybody had a purpose within the story, and I really appreciated that a lot. Christopher Nolan and Ludwig Göransson are an incredible director-score duo, and they once again struck gold with the score of Oppenheimer, with amazing tracks like Fission, Fusion, Destroyer of Worlds, Trinity, Oppenheimer, Meeting Kitty. The score of this movie is incredible here. Ludwig Göransson had to miss out on Mandalorian Season 3 and Creed 3, so Joseph Shirley had to fill in the role of composer for those two projects while Ludwig works on Oppenheimer, and I can see why. The Oppenheimer score is phenomenal. It's by far one of the best movie scores of the year, up there with the likes of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And Ludwig continues to prove why he is one of the best film composers working today, up there with the likes of John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino, and many more. His score here is excellent, with the use of sound, where at points it gets louder and louder and louder and amp ups the intensity, and so as giving you the sense of terror for what is about to happen within these certain sequences. And the score and music overall is just brilliant. And even the sound mixing, I actually thought was really good in this movie, where I was able to follow along with a lot of the dialogue and the scenes that are happening. I know that was a common complaint with Tenet and some of his other movies, that the dialogue tends to be so quiet because the music just completely overtakes the sound. But I thought Oppenheimer utilized it brilliantly with how it mixes the sound with the dialogue to where you still hear everything that's going on, but the sound and the music really feel like a character unto themselves in this movie. And even at certain points where it gets so loud and it feels like something big and bombastic is about to happen, and there's just so many where it reaches a crescendo from a sound perspective, and it is in some of the most memorable movie scenes of the year so far. And even for a 3-hour movie, it is paced marvelously. Never once did I ever feel like a scene could be removed or something needs to be added in, or it feels like things were taking way too long to just get to the point of Oppenheimer being in the Manhattan Project, building the atomic bomb. I was riveted the entire way through. The dialogue, the script, probably the best in a Nolan movie. I love the dialogue in this movie. And it's a very talky movie from Nolan, but I was always engaged from start to finish with Oppenheimer, with so many details and so many things about it historically that really stood out to me. And even with how the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer progressed from how we meet him in the beginning of the movie to where we see him by the end of it, it is a riveting transformation and journey to watch this movie play out. And the 3-hour runtime was deserved. It was completely well-paced, and it was always exciting and engaging towards something is happening at every second possible. Jennifer Lame is the editor of this movie, who also worked on Christopher Nolan's Tenet a couple of years ago, and this is a very extremely well-edited movie, where I thought Tenet was very well-edited, and so is Oppenheimer, with the way that she cuts from scene to scene and how she gets us to be in the mind of Oppenheimer to see how he's feeling and how he's perceiving everything around him, and so as scenes outside of his control. It is just impeccable and marvelous the way she edits the scenes of this movie, with the dialogue, the conversations from characters to characters, and even with cross-cutting and even focusing on the psyche of Oppenheimer to let us know how he feels and get us into his mind and what he's thinking, is really impressive. This is a masterfully edited movie, thanks to Jennifer Lame's work. Christopher Nolan impeccably directs this movie once again, making Oppenheimer another worthy entry into his filmography. And while I love his love of practical effects to make things as real and authentic as possible, and it worked so well in Oppenheimer. I am still surprised how far he and the crew went to recreate a bomb so that they can detonate it for this movie. It blows my mind.
You what?
And something I love about Oppenheimer is it brings back stuff from his earlier movies like Memento, where Memento had color scenes and scenes in black and white, and Oppenheimer does the exact same thing, where the color scenes are set around Oppenheimer and his subjective point of view of everything happening around him, while in the black and white scenes, they are scenes that are objective. They focus on how everybody responds to the controversy set after World War II as the bomb was used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it is just really compelling from beginning to end, and the last hour has, by far, one of my favorite third hours in an entire Nolan movie. It's a lot of courtroom scenes and scenes depicting the controversies set after the war, and it is riveting, especially the scenes like the Trinity test, and when the atomic bomb goes off, I was in awe. This is a really devastating movie, by far the most intense Nolan movie of his entire career. And it feels like this is a movie that's going to have a big lasting impact in the entire year with movies, with the message of how now this weapon of mass destruction has been unleashed upon the world. And now it makes me feel like we are all in a world that's less safe because of it, because now there's dangerous weapons of this kind of power out there in the world. And it feels like this movie just reaffirms that Oppenheimer is a scientist that created a weapon so deadly that it made me feel like we are in a world that's more dangerous than it ever has been because stuff like that exists. And it really comes off as a devastating movie, especially by the incredible ending of Oppenheimer that still sticks with me to this very second. And Nolan crafted another phenomenal masterpiece with Oppenheimer. And this is one of his best movies he's ever made. In conclusion, Oppenheimer is another spectacular Nolan movie centered around the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer. It has a really haunting and incredible ending, a lot of stakes with a whole lot of stress-inducing moments, some phenomenal practical effects work, and incredible performances from Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and the entire cast and crew, and a marvelous score, marvelous directing. It is a movie that exceeds my expectations at so many areas, and Oppenheimer is by far my favorite movie of the year so far, and one that I will think about for many years to come. So in the end, I'm going to give Oppenheimer an A+. I want to give a thank you and some credit to my friend Alien, who made the edit I used in the opening of this video. It is a really good edit for this video that I wanted to use the moment I saw it. It's great, especially because it's about Oppenheimer, and this is the video it's on, so definitely go check out his TikTok in the description below. I'm going to have a link down there for y'all to see all the good edits and the good work he has over there. Thank you so much, Alien, for making this edit. I hope you're doing well as you're watching this video right now. And as for Oppenheimer, this is one of my favorite Nolan movies of all time. It's a top 4 movie from him, and I cannot wait to watch it again to see what more details and things to digest that are in that movie, because there's so much to talk about and to unpack with the story of Oppenheimer. And it shows yet again why Nolan is one of my favorite directors of all time. This movie is going to be a big awards contender in so many areas, because thanks to the phenomenal performances from Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and the whole crew, I have no doubt this movie is going to be another slam dunk for movies this year, and especially being one of Nolan's absolute best movies he's ever made. And I highly recommend that you go to theaters and find Oppenheimer on the biggest screen you possibly can and go check it out, because it is an amazing movie that is so worth your time with the messages and everything it's about. I highly recommend it. So yeah, that's my review for Oppenheimer. What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. And tell me if you participated in Barbenheimer, where you watched Oppenheimer and Barbie around the same time. What was your favorite movie between Barbenheimer? They're both great, and I definitely would love to know which one did you prefer in the end down below in the comments. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned very soon. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below, so please go down while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more.